Hey there. As usual, standard disclaimer at the front of the video. These are my opinions and just my opinions. Facts are out there for you to find with other people. This video channel is about me and my personal opinions on things. Second disclaimer, I swear. And if you're a royalist, you're not going to like that or my opinions. So probably best just leave it. Even though this video is about the queue, which I'm rather excited about. Let me just shut that down because I can see the queue in the background because this is propped up against my screen and I can just see people who stood. Actually, let's have a look because I do want to find out. I have something open that says, right, this is the update, or the current update on the queue, the entity that is the queue, and I'm following the queue because I find it fucking fascinating. I find people fascinated, and this in especially is fascinating, and Sheldon wants to get involved. They closed down entry to the queue, and but they've resumed the entry to the queue. They closed it down because it reached 5 miles long, I'm assuming, because they said they were going to close it down if it reached 5 miles long. Expecting queuing time is over 24 hours and overnight temperatures will be cold. The queue may be paused again if it reaches capacity, so it must have closed capacity. This is from the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Support, the actual people who are monitoring the queue. So the queue is basically where people queue, funnily enough, for up to 24 hours to walk past the Queen's coffin. Now, I get it, you know, like, and I ain't, like I've said it before, I'm not going to diss the Queen. I've had the same education. I understand why people are moved by this. Also, she's been our monarch for our entire lives, and if you're older like myself, 51 years, right, Sheldon, love him, but in the way you do not get when we're talking about the Queen. Have some respect. Yeah, so there are people that have gone out of their way to travel to London as well, but obviously a lot of them are Londoners, to stand there and queue for a day out of their lives. Now, that's fine. You want to do that? That's fine. It'll never again happen in your lifetime, because when Charles Cox said, ain't nobody gonna queue. Like, literally, if you queue for Charles, you deserve anybody going by in their car papping and calling you a twat, because, sorry, pardon my French, calling you daft, because the man's best friend was the most prolific sexual offender this country's ever known. So if you are going to stand and queue for that, well, you'll be there on your own. Because most people, hopefully, don't like pedos. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, fuck Charles. He's taking up my key. But yeah, people are queuing because it's the only time we'll lose a monarch we give a shit about in our lifetime. Fine, do it. I'm halfway tempted just so I can say I was in the queue. You know, the queue. It's the only thing, the only one of its kind, hopefully, we'll ever experience. Anyway, so these people have been queuing for hours. Apparently they set up water stations and stuff like this once you're in the queue. I don't know the validity of the person who said once you're in the queue you can't get out of the queue, but you certainly can't jump in the queue. You can't keep the queue for somebody else, and I don't think you can take your own chair, so I wouldn't be able to stand in the queue anyway because I can't stand. Couldn't even do half an hour, let alone 24. David Beckham queued for 12 hours in the queue. Now, the live feed, I have watched that because it's fascinating to watch the people. They get in, they come down the stairs either side of the coffin in the middle, and they look up at the coffin. Some of them turn around and give a deferential nod, move along. It's like literally 10-20 seconds of your life that you're actually passing by the coffin. That's as you're getting out of the queue, the thing you're there for. Obviously you get to stand and look at the coffin from afar, which I should imagine is about as exciting as what I should imagine anything is about as exciting as watching it live streamed on YouTube. But I have watched it, and some people just don't really bother. They'll go, like they're not allowed to gaze upon it as they go by. They'll be like, it's like, wow. But it's one of those things, like when I auditioned for X Factor, it was the queuing for it, it was the camaraderie, it was making the mates, it was the whole experience rather than what you actually did when you got to the end of the queue. So I get the queue, I understand the queue, understand it, finding it bloody fascinating. If you want to queue, queue. If you can queue, queue. Do it. It will, you'll make friends for life. I wouldn't, obviously, everybody would hate me, but I wouldn't be able to, oh yes, Queen, oh, isn't she lovely? And like, yeah, oh, long live the king. Somebody said long live the king, I'd be out of there. Anyways, so that's the queue and cracking. Let's talk about the coffin, because last night when I was in bed, I had a brainwave, an epiphany, and I'm sure there's many people that have had the same brainwave, had the same epiphany, and like it's nothing new. But for me, this was news. You know what I mean? I'm laying in bed and I'm like, the light bulb moment type thing. Because I've been sitting there and I'm like, why is she buried in a lead-lined coffin, right? Apparently it's a regular-sized coffin inside a massive coffin made of English oak, which apparently nobody would be able to afford to do it with English oak. But this was 30 years ago that it was made, something like that. Decades ago a coffin was made. And it's lead-lined, right? And it's like, why lead-lined? And the official tale of why the royals are buried in lead-lined coffins is because of goo. Apparently the Queen is going to be not buried. She is going to be laid in state. She's going to be above ground. Her body is going to be kept above ground. So they need to line it to prevent the escape of body goo, right? And it's like cracking. But surely stainless steel would do that job just as well. And it doesn't leach poison into the environment. Like lead poisoning. It's a poisonous metal. Lead is a poisonous metal. I've known this since I was a little girl. Lead is poisonous. So why use a poisonous metal when there are so many other metals out there? You weld it together and it would stop the goo. And last night it dawned on me, and so I checked it, and yes, you can't x-ray through lead. So literally that coffin, you will none of us, because obviously it's illegal to break open coffins, especially of the monarch, so you're not going to get in there. Nobody in existence, unless everybody just goes, fuck the monarchy, and you know what I mean, we'll just, yeah, nobody is ever going to know what is in that coffin. You won't know what bones are in that coffin, who those bones belong to, what species the thing was that is buried in that coffin, or indeed if there are any remains in that coffin. So literally all of these people who are now queuing for 24 hours in the queue have zero way of knowing what they've queued for an hour of their life, what they've given an hour of their life for to look at. All they know is that that's a box made out of wood. They have absolutely no way of knowing, and there is never going to be any way of proving this fucking shit. Tap, changing of the guards, like every 20 minutes, half an hour, like it feels like every 15 minutes. I don't know, it's a lot. They change the guards around the things and geezer, and it's pomp and ceremony, and it's a huge cost to the British public in a cost of living crisis. But that's just me moaning, isn't it? Just me finding any reason to moan. But these people are guarding, and these people are queuing for a day to look at some wood. That's what the queue is for, because you don't know that the Queen is in there, and nobody will ever be able to prove either she's Schrodinger's coffin, she's Schrodinger's Queen. We will never know whether the Queen is in that box. All of those people who queued for a day will never know. Well, they do. They know that they've queued to look at a wooden box. They've queued to look at a coffin. They've not queued to look at the Queen, because they can't see the Queen, and the Queen might not be in there. They might have her somewhere else for private purposes. Do you know what I mean? They might have her boats, because let's face it, in the esoteric world, which these people inhabit, bones mean some shit. Hair means some shit. Flesh means some shit. Blood means some shit. You don't just bury that crap. Do you know what I mean? Or, like, relics are hugely sought after on the black market. It's like, that's by the by. So yeah, basically, the queue might be just literally people looking at a wooden box at great expense to the taxpayer. So yeah, just a little thought. But having said that, if you want to queue, I have nothing about that. And like I say, I'd halfway stop it with your banging. Weird. Yeah, I would be halfway tempted if I wasn't surrounded by royalists to stand in the queue, just to make some mates and have a crack and just have some fun and just be a part of history. Because the queue, it's got its own Wikipedia page, for fuck's sake. It's got its own Twitter feed and shit like this. People are invested in the idea of the queue. It doesn't matter what it's for. It matters that it's happening. And it's British people coming together and doing what British people do. Standing in a queue. Fucking love it, mate. Love it. But what they're queuing for, nobody will ever know. You will never know. If you spent 24 hours standing in that queue, David Beckham stood for 12 hours. We'll never know why he did it. We'll never know if he was in the presence of the Queen or not. No way of proving it. This is the state of our world. And yeah, fucking bang. How many? So yeah, but he's still not my fucking king. And oh, I had a thing on my computer this morning come up, like, breaking news. Breaking news was Prince Charles and Camilla, his missus, I ain't saying king and queen because they're not to me, had arrived in Wales. Breaking news, some bloke that nobody fucking likes, they used to be best mates with a pedo and raper of the elderly and fucker of corpses, has turned up in Wales. Wow. There's something else I wanted to say. What were it? Dang. Oh well. But that's annoying. But yeah, this is the world that we inhabit at the minute. Where, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. My mum used to be an overlocker when she was alive. Fucking good one as well. I'd say that was her job title. You know, like, of all the things that she did in her life, she has had other jobs, but she was an overlocker by trade. When she died, I didn't therefore become the family overlocker. Didn't give me the right to then go on to become an overlocker. But had she been queen, despite us being two completely different people with two completely different sets of morals and ethics, ways of doing things, personalities, if you will, despite us being completely different, I then get what she had. It's like the Queen kept the royal family together. Prince Charles hasn't done that. He's a nasty man, and videos are coming out of him being rude at staff. But it's been known that he is rude at staff. He's always been rude at fucking staff, and he always lords it over people. The Queen didn't visibly, publicly do that. Prince Charles does. And we're meant to say, put him on the same pedestal that she just fell off. I think the fuck not. And I'll leave you with that. But good luck. I'm still going back to look at people looking at a box. This is where we're at. People are queuing up for a day to look at a box. I'm spending a day watching people queuing up to see a box. Oh my God. Bring on the zombies.